there everybody, my name's Jona and today I would like to share with you the games that we play during our school day. I'm super excited to do this list because I put a post on my community page about doing this and I got such a nice response from people that I honestly didn't expect. So I hope you guys enjoy this and please share with me what games you like to play with your kids. I'd love to hear your feedback and your recommendations too. All right, so when we play games during our day, often the boys will get up and the first thing they want to do is play a game. But I'll hold them off and I'll encourage them to work on their reading or their math or whatever it is, and then we will play a game. So it really gives them motivation to get through maybe the parts of the day that aren't as much fun. Some of these games are more geared for preschoolers, and some of them are more geared for kindergarten age, and some of these games are even adult games that I feel pair down nicely for my kindergarten age kids. As I talk about the different games, I'm going to have letters show up on the side of the screen. If there is a PRE/K, that's for pre-K. If there's a K, it means that this is a recommendation for kindergarten. If there is an L, it means that there is a link in the description for a full review of that game. And if there is a G, it means that this game that I'm talking about was gifted to me from the publisher, and for full disclosure, I am noting that with that G. All right, before we get into the actual list, I have an honorable mention, and that is checkers. We introduced this to our older son when he was about 4 years old, almost 5, and we were amazed at how quickly he picked up the concepts of this game. And shortly after that, our younger one followed. So right now they will play independently with themselves. They ask all the time for us to play it with them. The mechanics of checkers could not be more simple. You are simply trying to take the other person's piece by jumping over them. There's a lot of strategy and logic involved. You have to think ahead. What is going to happen next, so there's consequences for your actions. This is a great introduction to gaming. Do not be afraid to introduce checkers to your little kids. Starting off, I'm starting with the little kids. My 3-year-old still likes to play this game, but this game is First Orchard and it is for 2 years old and up. So you can introduce this to much younger children. This is a color matching game where you're rolling a dice, and whatever color is rolled, you can collect that color fruit. There's also a crow that can be rolled, and as that comes up, the crow will get closer and closer to the orchard. If he makes it to the orchard before you've collected all the fruit, you'll lose the game. So this is a collaborative game, which is great for introducing to little kids. So there isn't this pressure of who's the winner, who's the loser. It's just a group effort. The theming is so much fun. Even if the crow wins, the kids can run around the orchard having the crow eat everything. So there really isn't a negative consequence to this game. And it's a great way to introduce color matching and a little bit of logical thinking, because there is a wild that's rolled and you can choose whatever fruit you want, and you can start having them think about, well, what do we have the least amount of? What do we have the most amount of? So it kind of can introduce them to a little bit more complicated thinking, but by and large, it's super fun. It's adorable, really well made, and a great introduction to board gaming. Okay, and the next game I'd like to talk about is Critter Cruise. This is a color and shape matching game and a memory game. So you're trying to get all the little animals on the boat by moving the little Noah character around. Whatever animal he's next to, that's the animal you're trying to find the suitcase for. The suitcase will have the same shaped animal and color animal on it. So you flip it over. If you found your animal suitcase, you can put him on the boat. If not, then you're gonna flip that tile back over and remember that for the next time you're looking for that animal suitcase. If you happen to flip over a suitcase that has water spots on it, then the land spots that the animals are on are gonna flip over to flooded land. And if that happens to all the land spots, you're gonna have lost the game. This is another collaborative game, and it's great for introducing color matching, shape matching, and also practicing the skill of memory, keeping that information reserved for later so you can use it when you need it. I've been playing it with both my sons. My older son, who is 6, really enjoys it. It's a very playful game, and it's great for spending time with your younger children just to review those colors and just work with them in memory and that activity. So that is my second recommendation for preschoolers. Number 3 on my list is a game called Color Monster. So in this game, we are recognizing color and emotion. And it's also another memory style game. Now the pieces in this game are incredible. They're so chunky and colorful. It has a lot of white and a lot of color. So I just love the look at this game. And there's this monster, his emotions are all mixed up, and the little girl is trying to help him sort them out. The way that you do this is by collecting the color emotion. Like red is anger, so if he goes to that spot, there's a little token for that angry emotion, and you're trying to find the red bottle to put that angry emotion in, so he knows what I'm feeling is anger. So it's really important for kids to start talking about their emotions, recognizing when they're having one, and figuring out what's the best thing to do with that emotion. And that's what this game is all about. As you visit the different colors on the board that represent the emotions, you talk about an experience where you were angry, or you were sad, or you were happy. And it's just a really wonderful exercise, and it's a great color matching game as well. All right, number 4 is a game called Color It. This is a roll and write game. So on a person's turn, they're gonna roll the dice, and you pick a number and you pick a color, and then you fill a spot out on your sheet that corresponds with the number. And it can be a really nice, relaxing exercise for younger children, just to be working with their numbers, recognizing the counting the pips on the dice, and also recognizing the colors, and working on fine motor skills and drawing in the coloring sheets. So it's great for little ones. There is a more competitive mode where you can play with older children and try and race to see who can finish their rainbow rows the fastest, and you need to have all those rainbow rows matching. So it's a little bit more complicated in that mode, but this is a great game to just spend a little time maybe in between lessons, where you can still be working on something constructive but in a very playful manner. The next game crosses over into the more kindergarten age. So this is Snail Sprint. Snail Sprint is a snail racing game when you're trying to get these little magnetic snails to go all the way around the tin board and end up on the podium. There's a first, second, and third place. And what happens on a person's turn is they're going to roll the dice, and there's 2 colors that are going to be rolled. So the player will have to choose which color snail they want to move. And so if you roll yellow and orange, they have to choose to either move the yellow snail to the orange spot, or the orange snail to the yellow spot, whatever is going to be most beneficial for that player. And each player has a racing card with 3 snails on it, 3 different color snails, and those are the snails that are trying to get to the podium, because they'll get points for those snails. So this is a great game because it's not necessarily about who gets to the end of the race, it's about who gets most of their snails to the end of the race. And because it's likely more than one player is going to be moving the same snail, it goes really nicely. It's great for those older kids who want to play more competitively, but perfect for the younger kids to work on their color and shape recognitions. All right, so now we're getting into the kindergarten age. This is again a bit of a crossover, very easy for the younger children to participate in, and this game is called Dragon's Breath. In this game, you're all little baby dragons, and you're trying to collect the gems that have been frozen up in an icicle. So everyone's going to take turns with the daddy dragon, who's gonna melt the ice with his fire breath. So on each person's turn, everyone's gonna have an opportunity to look at the colors that are on the top of the stack and estimate which colors are most likely to fall. If that color falls and you have a color claimed for that round, you get to put that gem in your side of the box. So every round you're gonna be claiming different colors based on your estimation of what's gonna fall. At the end of the game, you count up those gems to see who is the winner. So I like this game because it's introducing visual estimation, but kids don't even realize that that's what they're doing. It's just very thematic for the game. It's a weird theme, but it's a great one for this idea of looking at what's in front of them and estimating what's gonna happen. really great way for them to think about physics, to think about what they think is going to happen. And then at the end, there's tons of counting. So for the little ones, we count everything individually. Every child gets their own turn to count, and then they announce their total. So my younger one, we just count along with him to make sure that he counts all the way up to the right number. And for my older one, we count by 2s, we count by 5s, and we count by 10s. So it's just a really great way to practice counting. All right, so my next recommendation is for kindergarten age. I play this with my 6-year-old, but it is for ages 8 and up. So I do have a few recommendations coming up that are actually adult games, but can be scaled down, kind of pared down for younger children. But just keep in mind, like, they're also really fun adult games. So this is the first one, Qwixx Deluxe. It's a roll and write, and on each person's turn, they're gonna roll the dice, and you're gonna be adding the pips on the dice to get the total. And as you, announce those totals, people are gonna be crossing out those numbers on their different player sheets. Each player has a dry erase board with 4 rows on them, and they're 4 different colors, and you have to fill them out from left to right. And you want to try and cross out as many as you can to get the most points that you can for those rows. Sometimes you get stuck though, and you do have to skip a number. If you skip a number, you can never go back to it. So you just have to bear that in mind. So like I said, on the person's turn, they're going to be adding the 2 white dice and announcing that, and everyone can fill out that number. Now the person that rolled that turn can also take one of the white dice and one of the colored dice and add an additional number to cross out an additional number on their player board. It's nice because there's a lot of adding in this game, and it's very doable for the little kids. They can just count the pips. Then they have to make sure that their row is the right color and that they're checking off their rows. So it has a very visual presentation. It's a lot of manipulative. So I use it quite frequently as a break from our normal math workbooks because it's really great manipulatives and a lot of fun. Next game is Century Golem Edition. This is another awesome adult game. I love this game. It's one of my favorites. It's set collection, pattern recognition, and engine building. So in this game, there's Golem cards that people are trying to collect for victory points. And what you have to do to purchase the Golem cards is you have to purchase them with the gems for that Golem card. To get the gems that you need to purchase the Golem cards, you're gonna be playing merchant cards, which lets you collect a gem or upgrade gems that you have. So those merchant cards can be they're the engine building part of the game, where the more cards you collect, they kind of build upon themselves. You end up with a really big hand of cards that you can just play over and over and continue to build your collection of gems to buy better and better golems. Now for children, you want to kind of go light on the engine building. Like, they need those merchant cards to play the game, but it's more for them about building the pattern and collecting the gems. You can kind of just focus on that and not play super competitively with them. So my son loves it. He loves the artwork, he loves the little gem components, and it is a really great way for him to think about how to get the gems he needs by turning in a card. So for example, you might have to pay 3 yellow gems, which are the cheapest ones, to get maybe 2 blue gems. So it's kind of introducing the idea of money, like how many pennies are in a dime. Like, it's that same concept. So, but it's done in a fantastical way. So anyway, Century Golem Edition, it's an excellent family game, and it's a really fun thing to include in your school curriculum. If it's a game you have, why not play a few rounds? Really light and easy with them. My next recommendation is the last of the adult recommendations. This is Blue Lagoon. And in this game, you are all different tribes. You're all gonna have your own colors, and you're gonna be exploring all these lagoons, all these islands and waterways. And so to claim a water spot, you just have to place your tribal token on that spot. As long as it's unoccupied, it's, up for grabs. And if you want to claim a land spot, that land spot has to be next to a token that you previously claimed. So that's the only part. You have to make sure that on land that you're already connected to something else already on the board. Now, if there's a wooden resource on one of the land spots that you want, you simply collect that. And there's also village pieces to put out on the board, which you can use to claim different spots on the land. Now, once everyone has placed all of their tribal pieces, or if all the resources are collected, then the phase of that game will be over and there will be a scoring phase. Players get points for different sets of resources that they collect, and they also get points for building routes with their tribes through the different islands. They get points for having the most representation on a bunch of different islands, and they also get points for majority on the islands. The islands have different values, like the bigger islands are worth 10. So if you have 5 tribes on that and you have the most tribes on that island, you're going to get those 10 points. If you're playing with adults, you can get really competitive with it. But for kids, it's perfect. It's so simple. The rules are super light, and you're introducing all these different scoring options to them. They can work on route building, gaining majority in an area, or collecting those different sets. I just can't speak highly enough about this game. I think it's such a great way to teach kids gaming concepts. And finally, my last recommendation is Cloaked Cats. This is a deduction game for children who are 7-year-old and up. Now, my son is a little bit younger than that, so sometimes he gets a little frustrated that he doesn't win as much as he would like, but it's still, he's starting to learn deduction, which is an excellent tool. And it's such a hard thing to teach, and a game does it beautifully. This game in particular does it great. So it's a very playful theme. Here are all these cats going to a masquerade party. Everybody has 3 cat features that are hidden in their fan. You might be a green cat with stripes and a toy mouse. So those are hidden from everyone else. And as the game progresses, you're going to be playing these really big, colorful cat cards in the middle of the table. You always have a hand of those to play on your turn. A cat card is played, everyone's gonna look at what that cat card looks like. If one of your features is on that card, on that cat, then you're gonna add your mask, your masquerade mask to that card, and that's gonna be a clue to everyone that there's something on that card that matches one of your features. And over the course of the game, everyone can start to deduce what sort of cat you are. If you think you know another player's feature, you guess it. If you're wrong, then you have to give that player your mask. If you were right, then you get that player's mask. And that's how you get points for the end of the game. Whoever has the most of other people's mask colors at the end of the game gets points, and you also get points for how many cards are left in your fan. So like I said, deduction, for me, I always struggled with deduction. I was really bad at Clue, but this has really been fun to be able to teach it in a really simple way to my son, which has been enjoyable. And like I said, he does get a little frustrated with it because he doesn't get the clues as fast as other people, but he is understanding how you can look for the clues and start to deduce, well, if I have this color and so has that color, then maybe this other player must have black. Like, it's that sort of thinking that is so critical for everyday life, for science, and for all sorts of fields. So I love introducing this skill to him, and I love that even though he struggles with it, it's such an adorable theme that he just likes to play it no matter what. Okay, so that's the end of the list. These are the games that we actually play throughout our school day, and I feel like they have really fun ways of teaching things to my kids, so I enjoy them. And they're also fun games, so I have no qualms. If you are a homeschool family or you play games for educational purposes, what are those games? I'd love to hear from you. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.